Today we're going to talk about virtual welding. We have the Lincoln Electric virtual welders here. I'm going to go through the process of starting the machine and how to set it up for, this case, a T-joint. To start with, we're going to come over and push our on button, and this particular machine will have to hold the on switch for a few seconds to make sure it stays on. So we're going to give that a few minutes to boot up. While it's booting, I can talk about loading the coupon. So just a little background, virtual welding, we are going to simulate welding. We have a plastic coupon is what we will call it, and there's a variety of coupons on the side of the machine. This will be our simulated T-joint. So to load the T-joint, you just pull this out. There's a little nub there that fits in here and load it up that way. This is the position we're going to do our first weld. At this point, we would adjust our table. There's a couple pins. You can adjust the table height. I'm going to go ahead and say adjust it to about waist height. So it's easily adjusted, and you can put the settings in for comfort. So basically, setting up a weld, you want to make sure you're comfortable. Also, the arm position, those two numbers we'll have to record and enter that into the screen. So right now we're at 6 for the table and 11 for the arm. We'll enter that in as soon as it boots up. I can talk about the weld helmet. When we finally get set up, we'll have to adjust this. Just like a regular weld helmet, with the addition of the sight goggles here. So you push this knob in to tighten and loosen the headband. So you'd want to make sure it's nice and snug on your head. And then the eyepieces, I'll take it off, better see that. They will adjust in and out. You basically want to adjust it so it's in your focus. You know, everybody has a little different eye spacing, and then you can also adjust up and down with this little hinge part here. So basically, put the helmet on, adjust your headband, and then adjust your eyepieces for your individual sight so it's not blurry. We'll come back to that when we get the machine set up. So at this point, the machine is booted up. We need to enter some information in here before we begin. So enter name. I'm going to say just go ahead and enter your initials at least. Continue. We have a work procedure book back here. I'm going to go ahead and reference work procedure number 38, gas metal arc welding short circuit transfer, basic single pass T-joint. So all our settings and information we need are on this work procedure. I'm just going to go through and show you how to get the information into the machine. So we select our coupon type. It's a T-joint. It's going to ask what type of material, and we can find that on our work procedure also. So 10 gauge is what we need. 10 gauge is already selected, so I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. Now we have a few options of what welding process. We are going to use the GMAW, gas metal arc welding, short arc, sometimes referred to as short circuit. Continue. This is where we're going to enter our table height and arm height and position. So remember, we're at 6 and 11. So table height is at 6. We'll just go ahead and push the arm down to 11. Arm rotation, I have it coming straight in the middle of the table there, so that'll be rotation B. And then coupon rotation, that's going to be 3 for this particular coupon. After that, we can continue on. It'll ask you to confirm that you put the correct numbers in. And then you're able to select a weld scene. So this is what you'll see in the background when you have your helmet on. And it really doesn't matter. There's a few options, so you go ahead and select whichever you want. There's a a desert option, a race car, motor, sports shop. We'll leave it at that. All right, continue on past that, and now it's going to ask for your gas mixture and flow rate. So for this particular procedure, we are going to use a gas mixture of 75-25 argon CO2 mix. So we're going to select that. And our gas flow rate, our work procedure tells us between 25 and 35. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit 30, 31. I'll leave it at that. Continue on. Now we need to set the polarity and our wire feed speed and voltage. So again, on our work procedure, DC electrode positive. Our wire feed speed will be 250. And it's just, this is the touch screen model, so you just need to zip that around to 250, give or take. And our voltage, we'll bring that down to 18. Give or take. Don't spend too much time worrying about it. Continue on. Be sure you have the correct settings. Okay, confirmation. After that, we're ready to perform our weld. So at this point, I'm just going to talk about a few different screens. If we hit the next button here, we can scroll through this screen. This is the main screen that we'll be using the most. It records 5 different cues. Now the cues are the different fundamentals we want to learn as we start welding. And to help explain that, we can go into the Theory tab and look at, so CTWD stands for contact to work distance. And that is basically the distance between your contact tip and your work. Okay? We're going to talk about the arc length. So that's the distance between your electrode and the puddle. Work angle, and I can kind of show you right here at the coupon. So we talked about contact to work distance. That's going to be how close you are from the contact tip to the material. Your arc length. As you're welding, you'll notice for this instance, the wire, the distance between your arc and the molten puddle is your arc length. Your travel angle, for this instance, we're going to use a push travel angle. So we start with about a 10 to 15 degree push travel angle. There's a time and place you may need to pull. We'll talk about that later. And then you have your work angle. We're going to keep that 45 degrees, slight push travel angle. And then position. So we want to position. We're going to do one pass. We want to make sure our bead is in between both pieces of material. So we want to push that arc right into the where the pieces of material meet into that fillet, and have equal amounts of weld on both pieces of material. There's a few other categories in here we can talk about at a later date, but the main 5: position, contact to work distance, work angle, travel angle, and speed. So the basics, we want to establish those fundamentals here before we head out to the weld booth. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and just do one sample weld and show you how we can pick apart what we need to adjust. So I'm going to go ahead and put my helmet on. Notice I'm wearing long sleeves. I'm going to simulate the actual weld in the booth. I'm going to adjust my eyepiece. I'm going to go ahead and put my gloves on. We can put the hood down. It's not going to change anything, but just take away some of that other peripheral vision and glares you might see. So at this point, I'm going to talk a little bit about stance. You want to make sure your legs are bent. You got a nice sturdy base. Get down at an angle to where you can see the arc. And then starting from the right side, working my way to the left, I'm going to travel right across there. I may use my forearm to brace on the table, but I'm not planting my arm on the table. So slow and steady. I'm going to just show you a couple little things here. If I pull away, you hear that popping noise. If I get closer, you hear that steady sizzling bacon. If I favor one piece of material more than the other, you're going to notice our position is off on the screen, the blue line. And if I speed up too fast, that may look like a decent weld, but the speed is a little fast. So after you perform a weld, hang up the helmet. You can hit end pass, but first I want to talk about the different cues. So position is our blue line, and you can see that I veered off course halfway through there, and that's not going to give us a good score for position. Contact to work distance, you can see I pulled off there, had that popping noise, probably see some porosity there. Work angle, the green, I held that decent. I mean, we want everything right across that middle red line. Travel angle, that was okay. And then the travel speed, you can see I kind of varied a little bit, and towards the end, it ramped up too fast. So that's the cues we can watch, and you can tell what you need to adjust. And then after you evaluate that, you can hit end pass. It'll give you a little score, 77. Okay, so we're shooting for 80. If you want to challenge yourself, I'd like to see everybody get up into the 90s. And you can see each cue would have a separate grade. So the contact to work distance, 64. So that's because I was pulling away from it. And the travel speed, 59. So those are the two areas that really hurt the score. After you do one practice run, it's to move on to the next one, you simply hit new coupon. But when I do this next weld, I'm going to turn the actions and cues on. And you can do this while you're practicing, but when you perform your weld, you're going to turn in, I want the action and cues turned off. So I'm going to turn on travel speed, aim, travel work angles, and contact to work distance. Close the tab and perform another weld. I'm going to switch to a screen where you can see what I see through the lens. And you'll notice there'll be an arrow and a crosshair. You want to make sure you get those in the green. That's going to help you find that good contact to work distance. So too close, I'm in the red, I pull away a little bit, green, that's where I want to be, contact to work distance. Your angles, travel angle, work angle, get that crosshair in the green, and try to hold everything in the green. Okay, go ahead and switch to that main screen, and you can hit end pass, and it'll give you the score. Action and cues are going to be helpful to establish those correct work angle and travel angles. After you get the feel for that, you'll be able to shut those off and be able to perform those welds, no problem.